In the United States, 8th graders rank 9th in mathematics, behind Taiwan, South Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, and Russia. In science, the U.S. ranks 9th behind the same countries plus England. And the U.S. graduated fewer math and science majors from institutions of higher education.
If you compare the United States with other countries, what we see is China and India graduating a much greater number of students who not only are studying science and math, but also interested in entering careers in those fields.
President Obama today joining forces with Elmo, Big Bird, and thousands of video game programmers to push math and science to middle schoolers.
Has begun a 2-year initiative to teach young kids about math and science. And Discovery Communications is going to deliver interactive science content to 60,000 schools, reaching 35 million students.
How do you increase your child's attention span? Well, one school district says it has the answer.
Action 7 News reporter Amber Lee found out teachers are enhancing the way students learn in the classroom.
You can say these fourth graders are technologically savvy.
It should say to enter your number.
These remote control-like devices are being used in classrooms at Enchanted Hills Elementary School in Rio Rancho to help teachers gauge how well students understand what they're learning.
Well, they're cool. They're fun to use.
They're called smart clickers, and they're used in conjunction with the smart boards, a touchscreen board that allows teachers to interact with their students in real time.
Having the clickers allows us to get an instant response for the kids.
Let's give you a brief snapshot of how it's run. Several times in each lecture, the instructor pauses and asks the class a challenging question on the material. Students chat with their neighbors for a few minutes to help them figure out the answer, and then they click in with their choice. Instructors can get a record of every student's answer. A real-time histogram is created showing the class response as a whole. The instructor discusses the question with the class and moves on from there.
I think that clickers are the most valuable addition to my classroom I've seen in over 30 years of teaching.
Clickers have absolutely changed the way we teach. I think it's now something we look forward to. It helps us to bring more innovations into our teaching.
Lecture now becomes very dynamic rather than static. I'm not just a robot presenting a pre-prepared lecture.
It evens the playing field a little bit. Everybody has a chance to kind of think about things and answer them at their own pace.
I find that teachers that use clickers in the classroom are much more in tune to what their students are understanding and what they're not understanding.
They engage students in their own learning. The students move from passively listening to my wonderful lectures to actually having to figure out things and learn them themselves.
The relaxing atmosphere, and the students feel like now they have a voice in the classroom. I think that is very important for students.
Clickers are good for many reasons, but one of the simplest is there's accountability. Everyone knows that their discussion answer is going to be recorded, and so they're all talking about the science. They're not talking about Saturday night. They're talking about astronomy.
The clickers seem to be a really nice way to keep me focused and attentive in class. They kind of get me out of that sort of slump position in my seat and make me think about something.
Clickers allow students, well, in fact, they encourage students to commit to an answer. And they can't go into this sort of natural human mode of, oh, yeah, I knew that, because they voted and they know what they voted just a minute earlier.
The most immediate benefit from the clickers is you learn what your students are thinking.
Clickers help me understand the issues of the students who wouldn't speak as much otherwise.
I also get to interact with the students next to me, which, I mean, when I explain a concept to them, it helps me understand it more myself.
I think the clicker really helps because it facilitates communication between each of the students.
I have to learn by thinking or doing it myself, and that really only happens in classes with clicker questions.
It's certainly valuable that answers to clicker questions are anonymous.
Even when you raise a card or you raise your hands, you're still conscious of everybody around you.
The anonymity really helps because you're not being put on the spot. There's no fear of being judged if you get a question wrong.
The best questions aren't about simple recall. They're challenging and conceptual, and they'll help drive the lecture.
I think the greatest challenge for the instructor is to write meaningful questions.
There's a tendency to use questions which are not challenging enough. Maybe that's because we all feel good when 80% of the students give the right answer.
My personal philosophy is the higher the level at which you challenge the students, they will rise to the occasion.
It seems to make the class hook together much more nicely when the clicker questions are part of the lecture rather than, I'm done with something, let's see if you got it. It's not a quiz.
The best questions that I have to ask for peer discussion are questions that have come from the students themselves.
That's really where you want to zoom the clickers in on. Something where it's not trivial, it's not memorization, it's an idea that they're struggling with.
Well-formulated clicker question should make you think, and it should make you address the concept at hand, but it shouldn't be too tedious or laughably simple, because that's just a waste of time.
Technology really breaks down the walls of the classroom. I think that the entire world is becoming a global community because of technology, and these students are a part of it. It's natural for them to think of technology as a ways of gaining information and sending out information. Many kids have their own web pages at 10 years old, using MySpace or Facebook. They're accessing YouTube all the time.
It's just amazing. The kids they just pick it up intuitively. You know, they tell me that, oh, Windows is intuitive. You just do what you... No intuitive for this lady. But those little ones, truly, they just do it.
I don't have words for how useful that technology is. It's amazing. It's really fun. It's so much more fun.
It's astounding.
It is a much deeper understanding of the learning.
There's no way you could go back.
I think they're actually learning. I'm noticing that my struggling students perform higher with the technology than they do without it.
Mastery, proficiency have gone up consistently.
Our 8th grade scores have been in the top 10.
Our school has made a 10% growth in language arts, math, and science.
The test scores have been better for me personally. Just the attention level, though, has been the thing I've been most impressed with.
Very rarely have we been able to get homework turned in. I'm getting homework turned in.
Using technology prepares students because these tools, I think, are definitely here to stay.
You know, we're training kids for jobs that haven't even been invented.
If you're going to reach the students of this decade and this day and age, you are going to have to find a way to implement that technology.